Do not adjust your tracking. You are now listening to the VHSaturday podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of VHSaturday, the show where we discuss the strange and unusual, odd and obscure VHS tapes that we obtain through thrift, gift, and grift. My name is Henry.
And I'm Allison.
And this week, we are looking at a movie that we found a screener copy of.
Yeah. This is called Magic Bubble. At least the copy that we have is called the Magic Bubble. We found this at a thrift store that had a whole bunch of screener tapes. We picked up a couple, but not all of them.
Yeah. All the ones that had really cool looking shells, because some of them were like green with like black, and some had black cases, but they had green spools on the insides. I thought it looked neat, so yeah. I bought them.
Screener tapes, they look really awesome. But this one, I remember seeing it and grabbing it because, first of all, whenever I see publicity screener, immediately I'm like, okay, this could be something. And then I see that there's no like big studio behind it. There's no big distributor behind it. And I've never heard of any of the actors or actresses, and the story looks really dumb. So I was like, perfect. We were going to talk about, initially, a little film called Invisible Mom.
Yeah, we couldn't make it through that. That was a terrible film. We were 20-something minutes in, and the mom was not invisible yet. They had just gotten to the dog being invisible, and the premise of everything just was not working for us.
So there's kind of this, what I like to call invisible family film franchise.
There's the invisible family shared universe, cinematic shared universe.
So I think the original was Invisible Dad.
Yes, which we did watch. We haven't covered on the show. We will cover it at one point.
Yeah, we didn't watch that for the podcast. We just watched it because we actually got it on DVD.
Yes.
We found it on DVD in a 2-pack that it was like Invisible Dad and My Magic Dog.
It was like $3 at half price books. It was like, this looks terrible.
Yeah, so we just like popped it in, and it was like, okay, the Invisible Dad gimmick, it's fine for a little bit, but then it wears off. It's like, it's not supposed to be a feature length film.
It worked enough that we made it to the end of the movie.
We did.
We made it to the end. There was enough things happening. But that's because they got invisible fast.
Yeah, it got to the point really quick. So all of these invisible movies are done by the same guy.
Same guy. The Invisible Dad, Invisible Mom 2. I wonder if that's a
son.
Invisible Son.
Invisible Dog.
Yeah. Is there Invisible Daughter?
There's a lot. I honestly can't even keep track.
I want to know, is Invisible Mom 2 a sequel to Invisible Mom?
Yes.
Or is it like... No, like, is it like an actual sequel, or is it another Invisible Mom story?
Oh, I don't know.
Like, is it, they want to do another Invisible Mom story, and they're like, well, we gotta call it Invisible Mom 2, even though they're not related.
The thing that's weird is that you have, like I said, Invisible Dad, Invisible Mom, Invisible Son, Invisible Dog, but like, Invisible Mom is the only one that got a sequel, or at least...
That's what I'm saying. Like, is it an actual sequel, or they make another story about an invisible mom?
So you would think that, usually the most successful one gets the sequel. So it's like, what is it about Invisible Mom that hits so different? But like, we couldn't even make it to the part where the mom gets invisible. It was bad.
Yeah.
Even Invisible Dad held our attention for a little bit.
Yeah, it was cheesy enough that, like, we were like giggling about shit. Like, yeah. And that one actually had like decent reviews, but other people saying it's a fine family film. Like,
yeah.
Like, people were like, I don't get it, but my kids enjoy it, so it's fine.
Yeah, right.
But this was boring as fuck.
Yeah, so we were watching it. We're like, okay, our Mother's Day episode, let's talk about a movie with a mom. And we kind of like started doing other stuff. And I just looked at Henry and I was like, this is fucking boring. Like, let's not torture ourselves. We don't need to sit through this crap. Let's see, what else do we have? And I instantly remembered, oh my God, the Magic Bubble. We just picked that up on like our last haul. This is a recent addition to our collection. And I completely forgot about it until that moment. I was like, wait a second, this is a story about a mom.
Yeah.
It's a mom-centric film. But I don't know. Let's just read the back of the box so everyone can get an idea of what they're in for.
Julia Cole's life has become dull and safe, just one compromise after another. On her 40th birthday, she becomes terribly depressed, wishing she didn't know her true age. And that's when the magic begins. A bottle of enchanted bubbles appears in her bedroom. She starts blowing bubbles, makes a wish, and instantly forgets she is 40, or 30, or even 20. She becomes ageless, timeless, and unbelievably happy, but her family and friends go into shock. Her advertising executive husband feels threatened, convinced his wife is having a nervous breakdown, so he sends her to a therapist. But Dr. Block finds her normal and utterly charming. In fact, she ends up helping him. Her children change dramatically too. Shy Vanessa becomes more outgoing, while Junior's self-esteem improves greatly, along with his baseball game. And the effect on Julia's friends and mother-in-law. What? It just might knock your socks off. That is such a weird sense. And the effect on Julia's friends and mother-in-law.
That's just bad grammar.
The magic bubble where fantasy, romance, and comedy all come together in this charming and upbeat story for the entire family. This is not a family film.
Wrong.
There is nudity within the first 5 minutes.
Dude, there is so much wrong in that description. Like, now that we've seen the full thing, reading it again, I'm like, no, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true.
Like, okay, this doesn't even have a proper rating, too. It looks like the MPA rating, but it says the Film Advisory Board Rating System, PDM. It's rated PDM for parental discretion, mature, ages 13 and over.
Yeah, you think that the warning and the rating would mention that there's like straight up nudity in this film?
It says a brief nudity, mild sensuality.
Okay.
But still, like, you can't say fun for the whole family. And there's brief nudity. Like,
multiple times.
There's multiple shots of nudity. Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't care about that kind of shit, but still, like
you can't advertise yourself as a fucking family film.
Yeah. 100%. Especially it looks so, like, childlike and whimsical on the front.
Yeah. It's got these, like, really bright colors and these, I don't know, it just looks quirky.
Have we mentioned what it's also known as?
No. So when we initially started to do research about this movie, we noticed that it's referred to as unbecoming age all over the internet. But the thing that's weird about it is that all of the cover art has it named the magic bubble. So I don't know where they're getting this from. I can't find a picture of it with that.
I think I found one of them.
Yeah.
I think
But another thing that's weird is that it's got George Clooney on it. Now, the copy that we have does not have any mentions of George Clooney at all. No photos. He's not in the credits. Like, nothing. And so at first we were like, did we get, like, does this screener copy not have George Clooney in it? What's the deal? But then we started watching the movie and George Clooney shows up. And we're like, what the fuck? Like, George Clooney, that's, like, he's a big name.
And then we find out this is actually before his big break. His big break came 2 years after this.
Yeah.
And the really, really weird thing that we stumbled upon is the entire time George Clooney's in this movie, he looks, dresses, and sounds like Uncle Jesse from Full House.
Yeah. So throughout the movie, we just referred to him as George Stamos.
And
because he's just like George Clooney doing his best John Stamos.
I had a really, really solid feeling that he really was channeling like an impression of John Stamos, because this is 1992. This is the peak of John Stamos's career.
Yeah.
This is when John Stamos was in General Hospital and Full House, and he was starring in multiple movies. This is when Full House was really, really taking off also, because it had been around for 3 seasons. And so it's like the midway point right before it starts jumping the shark.
Yeah.
And so John Stamos was popular. He was in a lot of movies, and I feel like they wanted John Stamos, and he was either too busy, too expensive, because like I said, this was the peak of his career.
Yeah, it would make sense for him to play that role in this. 100%.
Like he's got this 1920s car. He dresses kind of like a 50s rocker guy.
He's got the same hair.
His hair is identical.
Like, and seeing George Clooney with that much hair, I'm sorry, it's weird.
Like, honest to fucking God, if I wasn't paying attention to the opening credits, I would not have thought that was George Clooney.
Yeah. And like, okay, so we're talking about even the Wikipedia article, which is under Unbecoming Age. The picture that they have of the DVD cover is the magic bubble, and it's got George Clooney on it, and he's like front and center even more than Diane Salinger, who plays the main character. Like, they're really hyping up the fact that George Clooney is in this.
He is a minor character.
But look at his hair is short.
Yeah, it's a recent picture. It's a recent picture. It's not the picture that from this. I swear to God, when he went in for this interview, they're like, so George, can you Uncle Jesse, have you seen Full House? You know, the show with the twins?
We want that guy. Can you be that guy?
Can you look kind of like him. Give me your best, have mercy.
Oh my God. Fuck. Because George Clooney was just a fucking no-name.
Yeah, he was a nobody.
So, like, when the movie first came out, they didn't even fucking, like, credit him. Like, yeah, he's in the credits, like, in the movie, but on the box, literally nothing.
Yeah, it's, starring Diane Salinger, John Calvin, Colleen Camp, Anthony Peck, and Wallace Shawn.
Yeah, Wallace Shawn is in this, but we'll get to that.
He's actually the biggest star in this at the time.
At the time.
Because at the beginning of the screener copy, they also show a trailer for the movie because it's a screener. Mm-hmm. And they talk about Diane Salinger, and they name a bunch of crap that she's been in. And Wallace Shawn from The Princess Bride, and this, and this. He had like the longest list of things that they were naming. Yeah. He was the biggest name on this. I swear to fucking God, I'm surprised he's not like on the fucking box.
Yeah, right? And so we just thought it was crazy that we were like, what is up with all this George Clooney stuff?
And then we had to look into like when this came out, and we realized, oh, this is right before he got popular. So when it had its initial release, it was like, okay, yeah, this is Diane Salinger. And then 2 years later, ER happens, and George Clooney blows up in like popularity. And so all the other issues of the VHS and later the DVD release, they're like, we gotta put George Clooney on the front, we're gonna sell it under George Clooney. That's how come his fucking picture on the front of the box is a more recent picture, and he's got a short haircut instead of the like long-haired Uncle Jesse look.
Yeah, it almost like he legit looks like, have you seen those videos where they superimpose Steve Buscemi's face on other actors, or like Nicolas Cage's face on other actors in movies and TV, and it's like it looks like them but just with that face? That is exactly what George Clooney looks like in this. He looks like if you took John Stamos and put George Clooney's face on.
Yeah, John Stamos, George Clooney deepfake.
It's so fucking weird. So first of all, this came out in 1992. It was direct to video. There's no theatrical release information, box office information, nothing like that. So I'm sure when this first came out, they probably made no money on it.
Yeah, none.
They were probably still like in debt trying to figure out.
It got sent to rental stores. You know, that's what I'm assuming this publicity screener was for. Like rental stores say, hey, please get multiple copies of this tape in. Yeah. So you order multiple copies of the tape to rent out.
And so for a couple years, they were just like struggling, and then all of a sudden George Clooney blows up, and then they see an opportunity and they're like, okay, we gotta re-release.
Which has happened multiple times in movies. I've seen it happen, and like I was telling you last night when we were discussing this Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4, this happened with Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey. That was made in 1994, and it was shelved because it was not going to be a good movie. And then Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger both got popular, and they were the main characters in this film.
Yeah.
So then in 1997, they release it, and they're like headlined now. They're just like on they're on the newer version of the poster, not the poster that they were originally going to have. They put that name front and center because like, whoa, Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey are in a fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Yeah. Okay, that's got to have some credence to it. And no, it's the worst one of the entire series, and killed it for a while.
Yeah. So what we're trying to say is the magic bubble was ahead of its time. Dude, okay, overall feelings about this movie, what the fuck?
It is shot like a children's film, but it is not a children's film.
It's weird. This movie's fucking weird. I knew it was going to be kind of weird. I suspected, okay, it's probably just going to be boring. It's just about a mom trying to feel young again. It's like a Danielle Steele story, basically.
Yeah.
With like the advertising executive husband, and she's unhappy with her life. It's like, at its core, this is a Danielle Steele story.
So she has an affair. Like, it's very Danielle Steele.
Yeah. But like, I was like,
Danielle Steele had magic. Danielle Steele was more about magical witch doctor bubbles and less about fucking hoity-toity people and the drama that happens.
Yeah.
Because this is about hoity-toity people. They just have magic bubbles also.
Exactly. So the movie opens on our main character Julia's 40th birthday party.
And she's depressed.
She's depressed. Everyone's making fun of her for being old.
Yeah, everyone's just roasting her. Every card she gets is like, haha, you're old. There are all these various jokes about how she's getting old now and like, you know, the health problems that are going to happen. They're making like enlarged prostate jokes and just like other shit about just getting old. And you can tell she's not having a good time and her friends are just laughing. And they're like, oh, this one's from Jonathan and Carla. And they're like, oh, Carla, come here. She's going to open it. And they're like, read it out loud. And then she reads in front of this crowd of fucking yuppies. And she looks like she wants to blow her fucking brains out.
Yeah.
She sounds like it too. She's very obviously like not having a good time.
Yeah.
And everyone is so oblivious to it.
Yeah. Everyone is fucking upset about their age because, first of all, she blows out the candles on the cake, and like in the COVID era, that triggered me. I was like, dude, remember when we used to just like spit all over cake and then serve it to everyone?
And they were the trick candles too, so she had to do multiple spit takes.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny you mention that because, like I told you last night, my mom always was grossed the fuck out by that. And when I went to like people's parties, she's like, "Hey, don't eat the cake." Like, they're spitting all over that. Like,
it's true.
It's like since the 90s, my mom like, that's fucking gross. They're like,
yeah. Dude, like bobbing for apples.
Oh, I wasn't allowed to do that either.
Dude.
Like, I remember when we went, I
chose not to do that. I was specifically like, y'all have fun. I'm not.
Like, my mom thought that was the most disgusting thing, too. I remember we went to, like, this Halloween party down the street from us. And it was, like, the first year we moved into that neighborhood. And we never went to a party from them again. Like, I don't know what the fuck happened, but there was, like, this weird farmhouse thing. And they had a lot of land. And they just invited the entire neighborhood to this like Halloween party. And like, so there's a bunch of kids, some that didn't even go to my school and shit, and there's like adults there, and there's bobbing for apples, and my mom was like, no, don't play that. It's actually like they're putting their mouth all over those other apples, you know, or their fucking mouths have been like, kids are just gross and dirty. Like,
it's true. Don't
fucking do the bobbing for apples game. And like when we watched it on TV and when I showed the movies, my mom would always like, that's so gross.
Yeah.
This man is 4'11" Filipino lady. That is so gross. Why you play that game? Yeah.
Your Asian mom was just like not having
it. And like, to be fair, like I would not play it as an adult. Like as a kid when I'm just stupid, I'm like, yeah, I'll bob for fucking apples. Yeah. No, like as someone with a fucking like brain that functions now, like, no, that's fucking disgusting. And
that's why Canada had to make that PSA. Like, have you ever seen where the puppets are singing about don't put it in your mouth?
No.
You've never seen that?
No.
Hold on.
Don't you put it in your mouth, don't you put it in your mouth, don't you stuff it in your face, don't stuff it in your face, though it might look good to eat, though it might look good to eat, and it might look good to taste, and it might look good to taste. You could get sick, yuck, real quick, yuck, real sick, real yuck.
Yeah.
I wish my brother saw that in the 90s because he put bleach in his mouth one day.
Why?
I don't fucking know what he was thinking. He was like 2, 3. He somehow got the bottle of bleach and got past the child safety cap, and he like starts screaming one day, and we all rush in, and like he's sitting there screaming with his bottle of bleach in his hand, and he obviously like dipped his fingers in the bleach and like put it in his mouth and like it was burning. Like,
oh my God. Wow.
I make fun of him for it. Like now I make fun of him for it. I'm like, Raymond, you drink fucking bleach as a kid. And like,
dude, there are people who like drink bleach because they think it's medicinal. Like, have you heard about MMS?
those people are stupid.
Yeah. They literally like go to African countries and are like, hey, drink this and you won't get malaria or whatever.
Yeah.
And like feeding it to their babies. It's like, it's so fucked up and
people have died. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've definitely heard about that. And it's fucking wrong. I don't know how much that's going to make it into the show.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so the magic bubble, she's at a birthday party. She's miserable. They all spit on the cake and then they go into the kitchen where they have this like really inappropriate and un-PC conversation about how, well, first they're joking about having eating disorders. That was really nice. It's like all the women are together in the kitchen and they're like joking about being bulimic and how it would make them skinnier and all this stuff. I was like, bruh, that's not okay. Because one of the guys at the party is their friend, Jake. I call him Sleazy Jake because he's just like a fucking perverted weirdo.
He brings in this girl that looks very young, and they joke about how she doesn't even look like she's out of high school yet.
Yeah.
And the main character's husband is like, Jake, don't you think it's time to grow up? And he was like, you know, the thing about getting older is you can still be immature. And it's basically a reworking of the joke from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, where they say, you know, the thing about high school girls is even though you get older, they stay the same age. It's the same, like...
Yeah, it's gross.
It's super gross. It's like, you're a pedophile. There's a word for you. It's a pedophile.
Yeah. There's this theme in this movie about like age and attractiveness and how they go hand in hand, that it's like, oh, if you're an older woman, you're just inherently less attractive. And like, so they feel like upset about it. I don't know. It's really shallow. I don't like that premise at all. So it's like, okay, we're a couple minutes into this movie and so far we have jokes about eating disorders, jokes about pedophilia, jokes
just acceptable pedophilia too.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're dating a high school senior and you're not like 25 where it's already sus like Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
And like, it's like, that's sus, Scott. You're like 23. Because he was 23 in the movie, right?
Something like that.
He was 25 in the comic, 23 in the... They made it a little bit less weird. But slightly less weird in the movie. And then this guy's 40.
Right.
He's like twice her age. Mm-hmm. She's not even 20 yet.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up. And they just, you know, use it as an opportunity to like shit on her and make her feel bad because they're salty and insecure about themselves and their own age. And so... Julia is kind of trying to like seduce her husband while he's cleaning up after the party. He's like on his hands and knees, like vacuuming around the table. And, you know, she's sad about being 40 and trying to like...
Was she trying to seduce him?
A little bit. She's like flirting with him.
I didn't take it that way. I thought she was like, she said she had a headache and she was depressed and she was like, can this wait till morning? She was like, I don't want to be here to vacuum at fucking 11, 12 o'clock at night.
I think what she was saying is that she wanted to go to bed.
Yeah.
Together. And she was kind of like implying like, oh, you should come with me. And he's like, no, if we clean up now, we won't have to do it later. Yeah. Like he was kind of like brushing her off. And then,
I just took it at her being tired and like, dude, I can't fucking sleep with the vacuum on. Let's go to bed. The party's over.
Yeah, but he was just kind of like not really.
Speaking of COVID shit, like when he talks about someone got icing on his fucking TV remote, he like licks it off.
Ew.
You didn't see that?
No.
Yeah. Dude,
when was that?
When he's like cleaning, when he's like he's talking about how much of a mess there is, and he's like, oh, someone got frosting on my TV remote. People just don't respect other people's things, and like he licks it off.
Ew. Oh my god. We were so disgusting. Like we had no idea. Anyways.
So then she finds the magic bubbles and she's like,
he finds it in a box.
She was like, oh, there's one more present. There's one more present. And she's like, oh, bubbles. Just starts blowing them and is like,
she literally says, I hate my life.
Yeah.
And blows bubbles just like in the living room. But the bottle says magic bubbles, like it says they're magical and everything. And she's just like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah. And then she starts going to bed and she kicks off her shoes and starts skateboarding in the house.
Yeah, someone bought her a skateboard.
Oh, as a gag gift, they give her a skateboard. And
it's like an expensive skateboard. Too.
Right. It's a nice skateboard, and she's like, oh, my daughter will love this. Like, but let's talk about the skateboard for a second.
Okay.
So I am an avid skateboarder. I've been skateboarding for over 20 years at this point, started in like 1999. And coincidentally, on my walls, I have a history of skateboards. Like, I just have various skateboards from the 80s and throughout the 90s, like the various different shapes and styles there were. And so this movie was 1992. And I point out to Allison that by 1992, that is a very outdated looking skateboard. Very, very outdated looking. I wonder if this was actually even filmed in 1992. Now that,
I don't know.
Because like that skateboard is a very 80s skateboard. No one was using nose guards and tail guards by then. No one was using, a single kick tail kind of thing. It does not look like a 90s skateboard, even by 1992 standards, because I have a skateboard from 1992 on my wall, and it just is very, very strange to me. So I feel like, well, this was like filmed in like 89.
Maybe.
And it was just like sat on the shelf for like ever.
There isn't really anything in the movie that dates it, that makes it easy to tell.
Like, and that's the only identifier.
Yeah.
Is the fact that like I'm looking at that skateboard going, that is not a 1992 skateboard.
Yeah.
So that's we don't have a whole lot of other visual identifiers besides that. And so it makes me wonder if like this got recorded, edited, and like we cannot make money on this. And then they threw it out there just like eventually like, we got this in our backlog. Let's just fucking release it. And
Yeah.
Because that's happened. That's definitely happened with other movies before. That happened with Robot Jocks. That was made in 1986. And then Empire closed down. And then when Charles Band opened up his new Full Moon Studios, they released Robot Jocks like 4 years after it was done being filmed and edited and everything. It was ready to go, and they didn't release it because Robot Jocks was made in 86 after he saw the popularity of Transformers in 1985. And so he's like, oh, let's make a movie similar to Transformers. And then it went out of business, so he just had this finished movie. So that happens, and that's what I think might have happened with this.
Yeah. I know that a lot of the reviews that we saw were from not critics, but like journalists and stuff, and they were all from like 1993.
Yeah. I was saying like this movie like might have sat like in the studio's backlog, like have it done and just not release it for one reason or another, because I know that happens multiple times, and it wouldn't make sense if this was done and they're looking at the final product and someone goes, this is terrible, and not put it out.
Yeah, I don't know. The reviews were pretty mixed.
Because also look at the people, like all the yuppies. Those feel very 80s. Those yuppies come off as very 80s yuppies, which had died off very rapidly in 1990.
Yeah. I didn't really look into whoever made this movie. It's like a married couple. They like directed and produced it. I didn't look into anything else that they've done. So it looks like in 81, she sold her first screenplay. And then this was her second script. Oh.
So like, I have a feeling she sold the script in the early 80s. And then
nobody did it.
And then maybe they made the movie in like the mid to late 80s and
just shelved it. And so she stopped writing because she's like, oh, my other movie was deemed a dud because they didn't even want to release it. It was that bad. God. And so then someone bought it, this like Monarch Home Video. Yeah. They bought it for super cheap. To just sell it to like fucking video rental stores. So they just like sent out some screener tapes and were like, here you go, check it out. If you want it, please. I just want to make money on this. Which is whatever I can get. Which we see happen so much with other stuff. Yeah. So she blows these magic bubbles and she becomes this ageless, blah, blah, blah. And so now she just starts acting completely fucking ridiculous. She's supposed to act ageless, but what does that really mean? Yeah. And so, she doesn't know her age. And it's not the kind of thing where it's like,
oh, I'm 40 and now I act and feel like I'm 20 years old. No, it is all over the place. She has no sense of manners. She has no concept of shame. She's just like walking around with no clothes going, I have nothing to wear. And then she's eating by just shoveling food in her mouth and talking with her mouth open like she's a fucking toddler.
The conclusion that we came to is that Diane Salinger just got really fucking wasted and someone hit record and they made a movie out of it.
Not even joking. Like during the beginning party, when everyone's drunk, everyone really seems drunk. They're all either amazing actors that can deliver a performance that makes them seem undeniably drunk, so believable, like suspension of disbelief is there, they got me in, or they were fucking wasted.
Yeah.
And we see this happen multiple times in the movie because we go to another party, let's look the next scene, right? He goes to the party with her friends. They're all having like a dinner party because it's the next day, and they're talking about her birthday. She's like, I don't know my birthday. I don't know how old I am. And they're like, oh, that's cute, Diane Salinger. You don't you just had your 40th birthday, you were depressed, and now you're like denying your age.
Yeah,
we should all do that. We should all just say we don't know our fucking age too.
Yeah.
And they all come off as really fucking drunk during this. They're like,
literally, they're drinking wine at dinner and they're like polishing off the bottle, and then they all sit down in the living room and some other friend comes in with a bunch of champagne,
like already poured, on like a tray.
And it's like me. And so Diane Salinger literally has like her glass of wine in one hand, which is full by the way, and then like a full glass of champagne in the other, and she's like double fisted.
She double fists and just downs the champagne and tops it off with the rest of the fucking wine.
Yeah, she's wasted. Everyone is wasted. And so they all have a toast where they like, to the champagne, and they're like, oh, to being ageless or forgetting we're 40 or whatever. And then we're like, oh, magic bubbles.
But no, those were not magic bubbles. We thought that are they also going to have magical bubbles too with this? But no, not magical bubbly. They weren't doing that. That was just a really weird longing shot. But she was like I said, I thought it was weird. She's just shoveling food in her mouth, and they were talking about her, and her husband was very embarrassed.
Yeah,
he could tell he was embarrassed by her.
Oh, Diane's on the magic bubbles again. This movie kind of like, if you watch it through the perspective that it's like a woman who has untreated bipolar disorder.
She's very manic depressive.
Yeah, she goes from like super slow, sad to like this extremely manic, irresponsible behavior.
Like she literally talks like this, like everything is just drawn out.
I hate my life.
I want to blow my brains out. And then to this manic, like she just irresponsibly spent money. She went to the store and had like the stereotype of a woman spending too much money at the mall and has like 20 bags. But her husband's like, you look like you spent a lot of money. And she's like, I returned the crystal vase. I returned
like all of her like old lady stuff.
And it's like, those would have been bought recently to be within the return policy, first of all.
Unless she shops at Nordstrom, they'll take anything back forever.
I guess.
Look, I'm not gonna be the one coming up with the logic for this shit, okay?
Yeah,
that's their job.
This is, speaking of logic, okay, so this house is huge.
Yeah.
It's a McMansion.
They're totally rich.
She doesn't work.
Yeah.
This is all off of his like salary. The bathroom has a privacy curtain for the toilet.
It's weird. It's like you've got the shower on the left and then the toilet right next to it, but there's like a curtain in front of the toilet, and it's like a shower curtain.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, who has a bathroom like that?
I've seen privacy curtains like that in like
hotels.
Yeah, doctor, like in hospitals, you know? But where you're gonna theoretically have multiple people in there. Like a doctor's gonna be in there doing one thing for you, but you need to like get a stool sample so you have some privacy there.
Yeah, right? But it was just like in their fucking house.
And she's like, oh, he's like flossing while taking a dump, and she opens the curtain and starts talking to him, like trying to flirt with him while he's taking a shit. And he's like, can I have some privacy? And it's supposed to be funny, and like that's what I'm saying. It seems like she has no concept of morals or shame or anything. Like, yeah,
like I said, a woman without inhibitions.
Like it's
someone who has consumed a large amount of alcohol.
Right. It's not an ageless thing.
No,
this is
just fucking drunk.
It's like no, you're not ageless. You're stupid. These are things your child is aware of.
Yeah.
Right?
So, yeah, she's flirting with him while he's shitting. And then you've got this, like, family drama where, like, so she has a son and a daughter. And her daughter is, like, she's, like, 5 years old. So I'm like, she just turned 40. Mm-hmm. And she has, like, a 5-year-old. Like, I'm not trying to judge. I'm just saying that, like, if you're wealthy in the early 90s.
Well, she was a stay-at-home mom. So, like, she's a
stay-at-home mom. And she didn't have kids until she was, like, 35.
Yeah. Oh.
I mean, I don't want to like judge her lifestyle. I'm just saying that like
usually in like this kind of thing you would have like a career, and that's why you didn't.
Yeah, but like
she's also got a housekeeper, Consuela.
Yeah, of course her fucking name is Consuela. Yeah. Of course.
And she turns on music to like generic Hispanic music, and immediately Consuela cannot contain herself and has to start dancing.
Yeah.
It's like
Bailamos Consuela.
Anyway.
Anyways, so like her 5-year-old, her drama is that the kids at school bullied her for having big ears. Like they said she has rabbit ears. And so the mom tries to comfort her by being like, let's play pretend that we're rabbits or something. They start just like hopping around and eating raw carrots out of the refrigerator. And this is the beginning of all of the like rabbit and carrot imagery we're going to see throughout the movie.
There's a lot.
There's
so many rabbits. Like,
I don't know if they're trying to be like deep, like it's some kind of like symbolism or something.
This is like the room like 232 for fucking the signing. Like,
yeah, I don't fucking get it, but it's like everywhere in the house, in the weirdest places, they have just like, we will get to that though. Like the weirdest thing in this whole movie will lead up to it. But right now it's like rabbits, carrots. It's a big deal. So then the son, his drama, he's like a couple years older. He's maybe like 8.
His name is Junior. And he wears a baseball cap to bed.
Always. He never takes it off.
This kid is balding already.
He's like, his drama is that for one, he plays baseball.
But the coach never puts him in.
Coach never lets him play.
And he's terrible.
Yeah. And the coach wants to win. So he's like, you're not going to play.
Yeah.
He really does not want him to play. Like, we see that later.
The coach was played by this guy who I've seen in like a million fucking things.
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
He tends to be like a coach or like, was he in Coneheads?
Maybe. But, yeah. And so he's not good at baseball. He never gets to play. And then his other story is that he doesn't want to be called Junior anymore. So her husband's name is Charles. So the son is Charles Jr. Carl's Jr. I'm sorry.
He doesn't want to be called Charles because that's his dad's name.
Yeah.
And his dad's a fucking stiff.
So like, his mom, who's now this like ageless free individual, is like, well, what do you want to be known as? And he's like, I don't know, Willie. He's like, all right, I'm gonna call you Willie from now on.
No, that's not how it works.
Oh no,
he's like, I don't know, and
she like looks around
and he's like Tony, and she's like, no, not Tony, and she's like, how about Spider-Man? Points at the Spider-Man poster, and he's like,
no, I'll get made fun of if I'm Spider-Man. So then she like looks at another poster in his room, and it's literally like the Fantastic Four, and it zooms in and it focuses on like the Thing. That's his name, right?
Yeah,
the big rock guy.
Yeah, that's the thing.
From the Fantastic Four. And she's like, how about Captain America?
And he's like, no. And she picks the baseball card off his like nightstand, and she's like, "How about Willie?" And it's named after like some fucking baseball player.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, I want to be Willie." And like, I was a kid, didn't want to go by my name Henry because it's an old person's name, and I had some interesting choices.
Yeah.
Names I wanted to be called.
Like what?
Chainsaw.
Do you wanted to be called Chainsaw?
Sounded rad.
It is pretty cool.
Like, it was like, I know, like, I don't want to replace my name. I want a cool nickname.
Yeah. Because, like, when you grow up and you watch, like, kids' movies and stuff, there's always, like, a kid who goes by a nickname.
This is rad. And that's rad.
Yeah, like, I'm actually, like, binge watching through Degrassi: The Next Generation right now. It's, like, Spinner. Like, his real name is Gavin, but everyone calls him Spinner.
So, like, Chainsaw is actually the nickname of a guy in the movie Summer School, which was a comedy film, like an 80s comedy. There's these two kids in a summer school that are huge horror movie fans. I forget what the other one's name is, but the one goes by Chainsaw. And like, I thought those two guys were like super fucking cool when I was like 7. I was like, that's who I want to be.
Wow.
Like, this,
Don't
like,
let your memes be
this
dreams.
horror obsessed teenager.
Look at you now.
This horror obsessed 30-year-old.
Wow. Mr. Chainsaw. Oh, that's a fucking Alkaline Trio song.
Mr. Chainsaw?
Yeah.
Nice.
Anyways. We're like mega ADD this episode. Where were we? So,
Naming. You want to be called
he wants to be called Willie.
Now he's like, yeah, Willie's a rad name.
So she's totally accepting of it, and she starts calling him Willie, and the daughter starts calling him Willie, but the dad is like, I will have none of this.
Like, that's my name. What the fuck is wrong with my... You know, I can kind of get that. He's like, dude, you don't want to be called Junior?
Yeah.
Like, I get both ends. I get not wanting to be called your name, and I also get the dad being like, what's wrong with your name? But also, I feel like you just move on. Like, the dad was adamant about not calling him Willie.
A thing that I've noticed is that, like, men who have sons, they want their son to be exactly like them. And then women who have daughters are always like, I hope to God she doesn't turn out like me. That's like memes that I see all the time. I literally just saw one this morning where it was like, if my daughter gets my attitude, I'm in trouble. But, like, guys who have sons, they're like, I'm gonna teach him to do all the stuff that I can do.
I mean, it's kind of like the mentality I had when I told people, like, they're like, you don't want another Henry running around? I'm like, fuck no, dude. Like, that's the last thing this fucking planet needs is another one of me. Jesus Christ. Hell no. You're all fucked if you want another Henry running around here.
Yeah.
That's not good. But
yeah, so basically Charles is getting really fucking fed up because she's acting just like a crazy drunk bitch 24/7.
And she goes to like her like tennis practice, right? And the tennis coach, who is like also has a very fake Hispanic accent.
Yeah.
And she has no inhibitions. Her tank top is like slipping off her sleeve. She doesn't notice or care.
She's just jumping around being quirky and crazy.
And he's like comes up behind her and is, you know, caressing her while trying to show her how to follow through.
Yeah.
Follow through. And he's like, how about you come for some extracurriculars? And like, so because she's all like free spirited now she's more attractive because she doesn't know her age. She's still the same age, but she doesn't know what her age is. And she just starts doing all kinds of things like skateboarding.
Yeah.
And then she gets to the therapist.
Well, because Charles says to her, like, you need to get a fucking therapist. Yep. You're being crazy. And literally while they're having this talk, like, they're in bed and she seriously, like, gets on top of his back, like, riding him like a horse.
Oh, yeah, because like, he wanted to have sex and, like, she was, like, just tossing around. She was being all kinds of crazy, which is why I'm like, okay, so, like, sometimes she acts like a teenager. Sometimes she acts like a toddler, and right here she's supposed to be acting like this like hypersexual kind of like girl, like too hypersexual for him. He just wants some normal like fucking lights off missionary sex. Yeah. And then she Then she literally rides him like a fucking horse.
Yeah. Right? Like, immediately after, he's like, you need to see a therapist or we're getting a divorce.
And then she, like, pulls the covers over herself and pouts like a child.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't feel comfortable having sex with that either.
No. It's like, honey, I just feel it's wrong to take advantage of you while you're in this state.
You are not in a proper mental state to consent. Like,
he's rightfully concerned.
Yeah.
She's being insane.
Yeah. 100%.
And so then she starts to go to the therapist, the therapist, because it's Wallace Shawn.
Did we already meet George Clooney?
I don't think so. No. Well, no, because the first time we meet him is when she goes to the grocery store after she sees the therapist for the first time.
Is that right after she goes to the therapist and goes, yeah, okay, okay. So
it's like on her way home. So she sees the therapist, and then the thing is that, like,
first he starts snapping at her. He's yelling at her.
He's
like,
not a good therapist.
Like he mocks her at one point. It's like, therapists should not be doing this. Like, they should just be listening.
He's trying to get her to follow a logic train to show her why her attitudes aren't sane. That, you know, she's like, well, he's like, how old are you? She's like, I don't know. Well, when were you born? August 21st.
What year? I don't know.
And then he's like, does your husband know what year you were born? She's like, yeah. He's like, so do you think it's kind of weird that you don't know when you were born? And she's like, I don't care. Age is just a number, bro. And like it's all this like r/I'm 14 and this is deep. Like, this whole movie is just filled with that crap. Like,
and eventually Wallace is like, whoa.
Yeah, he gets his mind blown.
I don't remember what the fuck she said, but it was like deep and profound to him.
Yeah.
And she is now the therapist.
Yeah. As their relationship develops, it's like literally her giving him counseling.
We'll just skip ahead in the movie because he only has like one other scene. Like, she goes to follow up and she skateboards to the therapy appointment, and she goes and checks in with she goes and checks in, and she's like, oh, he said to meet you at the waterfront. And she's like, oh, okay. And she like skateboards there, and they start going on a run together, and she's now his like life coach.
Yeah.
Telling him all this like, you know, deep, profound stuff about not feeling whole. And
it's just really dumb.
It's stupid.
It doesn't make any sense. He's a bad therapist.
Yeah.
Anyway, so like on her way home from the first therapy session, she stops at the grocery store, and she's buying beer for Charles, because we'll see that Charles also has an alcohol problem. Like, everyone in this movie is just like a fucking raging alcoholic. But she goes to grab him beer, but she doesn't have her ID. And so the lady at the grocery store is like, sorry, I can't sell you beer without an ID, even though she's clearly 40.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make any sense, because like, if you look over 30, they don't have to card you. She's very clearly over.
I would imagine also, like, you know, like, you've seen this person enough times with kids and everything else. It's like, when I go buy beer from the corner store, that guy, I don't get carded anymore.
Yeah, that guy knows who you are.
Yeah, like,
and she like, okay, she doesn't have a job. She's the one who's in charge of doing the shopping. Yeah. She probably shops at the same store on the same days and buys the same things. And it's like a small town. It's not like a big chain or anything.
I mean, like,
because George Stamos works at this grocery store, and that's where they meet. And then he starts following her around town. It's like, it's got to be a small town or something.
Yeah,
because
he starts carrying her groceries to her car with her.
Yeah.
And he starts flirting with her, hitting on her, and she's not interested. Then he hops into this 1920s...
This, like, Legend of Korra looking ass car.
And then he, like, leaves. And so I'm like, does he work there?
How does he afford that car on a fucking bag boy salary?
Well, it's also, like, just...
He's probably making like $5 an hour.
How does it work out? Like, you care, you know, he was making less than $5 an hour, because my first job was at a Starbucks at a grocery store, and that was in 2006, and I was getting paid $7 an hour.
Yeah. So like, what was the minimum wage in 1982?
It was probably like 2 or 3.
Dude, that's fucked.
Yeah.
And he's got this like pristine, restored,
like,
old ass jalopy.
He hands her groceries into her car, and he just literally hops into this car that was next to it.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't clock out of work or nothing. He just hops in this fucking car and zips away. Like,
See,
what the fuck?
George Stamos is really attracted to the fact that she acts ageless, that she's free and wild and quirky.
How old was George Stamos in 1992?
I don't know.
Oh, he's born around the same time as my dad.
He looked young.
He would have been like, he was been in his, if my suspicions are correct and this was actually filmed in the late 80s, then he would have been in his like mid to late 20s.
That makes sense because this was like shortly after he finished like school and stuff. It was like around that time, roughly.
He's literally, he's literally the same age as my dad. So we're thinking about like my dad joined the military in like 78, 79. And so that would have been when he also graduated, went to school. He went to two different universities, dropped out of those, moved to California to go to acting school for 5 years. So it would have been 86, 87 when he was done with that.
And like George Clooney is one of those guys that's like known for being an attractive older guy that just kind of like, as he gets older, he just gets more hot. Like women are just very attracted to George Clooney. But like typically you see him with like very short hair. Seeing him with long hair, it doesn't work for him. I'm sorry, like they try to make him this like Uncle Jesse pretty boy type, but like it does not work. It's weird. But George Clooney is such a great actor that it's like, it's at least he's acting like Uncle Jesse.
Yeah, he does a great Uncle Jesse.
He does.
George Clooney does a great John Stamos.
It's so true.
That is something I did not know until yesterday. But George Clooney could do one damn good John Stamos.
It's true. So then she comes home from the store and literally starts just like abusing Junior on the stairs.
Yeah, he's trying to run upstairs because he's like angry and like she like yanks his foot and he like trips him down and like starts talking to him and like he gets up and is like, fuck off, I want to go to my room, and she like grabs him again and it's like, dude, what if he slammed his face? And now, it's because he didn't want to apologize to Consuela.
For what?
Because he kept changing the music.
That's right. She is like, Julia is like sitting on the stairs and he's like running up past her and she grabs him by the ankle and he falls down and then she pulls him down.
And this happens repeatedly.
That I was like, it's supposed to be like quirky and cute, and I'm like, that's child abuse.
It's like, it's like he could have slammed his face down. Like, granted, he would have deserved it because he was being a fucking entitled dick.
Oh my god!
So, but
he deserves it.
But at the same time, like,
wow.
I'm not saying he deserves being abused by his mom. I'm talking about him tripping and like, hitting his face on something hard. Like,
okay,
I'm not saying like.
Just enough to teach him a lesson.
No, I'm not saying it should have come from his mom. It's kind of like when you see a kid being a dick in a store, they trip and fall. You're like, haha.
Karmic justice.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. I'm not saying his mom should like yank him down the fucking stairs.
Oh my god.
If he were like trip and slip and slam his face that on his own accord, I wouldn't have felt bad.
Yeah, that was like, that stood out to me. I was like, I don't like that scene. That's weird.
Then the dad comes home.
Well, first she goes to confront the baseball coach. And she's like, how come you never let him play? And he's like, because he sucks. And she's like, please. And he's like, no. And then he's like, the coach is like, why don't you tell your husband to go teach him how to play baseball? I can't do everything. It's like, you're literally a baseball coach, though. I mean, at the same time, this kid's chunky and like... Yeah, by 90s standards. This kid's not in shape. Like. But like, you're the coach. Like, it's your job to make sure he's good at baseball. You have to train. Yeah. Still, you have to do other things outside of you. Like, the coach is right. The coach is doing drills on how to play baseball. Yeah. But he can't develop a kid's, hand-eye coordination on how to hit the fucking ball. Like, you gotta do that on your own. It's just like school. You can't just, like, the teacher's like, you have to study outside of the class. Yeah. Well, here's the thing, is that the mom is too busy getting drunk all day, and the dad, like every 90s movie dad, is just really involved with his job and doesn't pay attention to his kids. Anyways, then we see the refrigerator. The dad comes home to find that there's no beer in the fridge and loses his fucking shit. And this was the most baffling part of the movie. We had to pause and rewind and pause a million times because we were like, what is up with this fridge?
What is in this movie? What movie fridge? We have at the bottom, we had a whole cornucopia of fruits and veggies.
In my notes, I said it's a whole ass fruit salad because there's like a melon. You know those melons when they like carve them all intricately to have that like jagged edge? There's like a beautifully carved melon surrounded by like limes and a cornucopia.
We haven't mentioned the fact that like kids are just running around multiple times at this point, like chomping on raw carrots.
Yeah, again, there's carrots.
There's a lot of raw carrot eating.
Yeah.
But then we all see more raw carrots in the door of the fridge.
Yeah.
And
they just show it for a minute that basically like the husband goes in the fridge to find the beer, and it's just trying to show you the insides of the fridge to show you that like this is what he's seeing. There's no beer in here, but the stuff that's in there instead is just like, what the fuck? What did we say? Like 1 million yogurts?
You said it was 1 million, and we counted. It was like 9. I thought that was a normal amount.
Yeah, but so there's like a bunch of yogurts, the fruit cornucopia, and
3 bottles of ketchup.
Yeah, there's 3 bottles of ketchup of varying sizes.
And then we get potato people.
That's the middle shelf. We skipped over the shelf that has the thing on it that we were like, what is that?
Oh yeah, I don't know what they are.
I can't.
They're like these orange shapes.
We'll post it on Instagram and YouTube. So like if you guys want to let us know what you think it is, because I'm lost. I have no fucking clue.
I don't know what it is. We couldn't tell what they are. And then the next one is they look like potato people.
They're like potatoes with faces on them, made out of like other vegetable pieces.
And one is like on a fruit cake, on a rice cake. And then
they're surrounded by
little orbs. Like they might be little tiny potatoes. Like
I don't know.
And then there's like these weird crescent shaped things that look like they might be like cuts of like sausage. They kind of look like just mustard that's been like Grey Poupon mustard that's been like smeared. And
dude, I don't. But it's not like it's even on a tray or plates or anything. It's just like
there. It's just on the
fridge.
Shelf. And then we have the giant brick of cheese. We have a whole fuck ton of red orbs that might be apples. They might be red onions. We can't tell.
Yeah.
And
then the second to topmost shelf has 3 Easter bunnies, like chocolate foil wrapped Easter bunnies surrounded by that like plastic Easter grass.
Yeah.
They're just like standing up in there in this like display.
Yeah.
Who the fuck, like, why is that?
What psychopath does it? Like, someone with manic depressive disorder.
Dude.
Like, then the next shelf is a bunch of carrots.
Like stacks of raw carrots.
And then
donuts?
A couple dozen donuts in a triangular
not on a tray.
Stack. Yeah. There's just on the top shelf, like they made a triangular display of chocolate and powdered donuts.
Yeah, this is the refrigerator of someone with serious problems. This is not normal.
So the husband is like, oh, I've had such a long day at work. I just need a beer, dude. It's been so stressful. She's like, oh yeah, they wouldn't sell me a beer. He's like, what? You didn't get beer? He's like, yeah, they wouldn't sell it to me. And he's like, dude, you don't have a job. What do you do all day? I just need a beer when I get home. He gets really upset.
Yeah.
And this whole breakdown could have really just been avoided if instead of saying, oh, they wouldn't sell me the beer, she just was like, didn't bring my ID when I went to the grocery store. They wouldn't sell me beer. They start fighting, and that's really all it would have taken. I feel like any sensible person, like, if like, I can understand me going, dude, what are you doing? I'm stressed. I would like a beer to relax. I'm not saying what he did was right, but I could see him like being like, what the fuck? Because she doesn't explain why they want to sell it to her.
Yeah, that she's just like, well, it's because I don't know my age. And it's like, okay, you don't know your age, but like your ID still has your birth date on it. It doesn't just disappear because of the magic bubbles.
Right.
Like,
and it's not even just that. Like, just tell them. You told the grocery store lady, oh, I don't have my ID.
Yeah.
She didn't say, oh, I don't know my age. She told the grocery store lady, oh, I don't have my ID.
Yeah.
And so tell your husband, I didn't bring my ID to the grocery store. They wouldn't sell me it. And even though you're obviously over 40, you would just make the assumption you had a stickler of a cashier that wanted to see your ID, follow the rule to a T. And that would have made perfect sense, you know? No one would have gotten mad. Yeah, they wouldn't have sold it to me because I didn't have my ID. Oh, he would have been like, why didn't you have your ID on you? But at the same time, like, people have forgotten their IDs.
He is a raging alcoholic and he's mad that he can't get his fix. And his wife was supposed to get it and she didn't get it because of this, like, mental kick that she's on lately that she doesn't know her age, and he's fucking pissed.
And she still could have avoided that entire breakdown if she just told the full truth.
Yeah.
I didn't bring my ID to the store.
But she's just under the influence of the magic bubbles, and this is causing problems. Anyways, they get in this big fight, and then she gets sad, and so she literally, like, hops in the car and drives away. And she goes to the local ice cream parlor, and she's sitting there eating ice cream. And of course, fucking George Stamos shows up, and he's there to hit on her because I'm pretty sure he's stalking her. Like, they never really say if she is purposely meeting up with him or if he just happens to show up everywhere she goes. But, like, every time she leaves the house, he's there. And he's there to hit on her and be like, I'm just so attracted to you. And she's like, oh, George Stamos, I'm married. I can't. Anyways, like, they're just fucking flirting and hanging out in the park and whatever. And then she realizes it's 2 a.m. and she's like, oh, fuck, I gotta get home. Her husband had, like, fallen asleep waiting for her to come home because she just ran off.
At some point, it showed him, like, looking out the window.
Yeah.
And there's more rabbit imagery. There's, like, rabbit statues.
Like, in his office or whatever, like, in the house.
Like, whatever window he's looking out.
Yeah,
like,
there's these, like, rabbit
statues. There's rabbit statues. There might be some in his office, too. They're like, you see rabbits all over the fucking place.
Everywhere. I was like, is this supposed to be, like, an Easter movie or something? Like, what's with all the rabbits? I don't
fucking know.
Anyways, so...
He's sleeping with the shoes on.
Yeah. Oh, God, that triggers me so much in, like, movies and TV when people are in bed with their shoes on. Oh, it drives me nuts. He's in bed with his shoes on. He fell asleep in his clothes because he's been waiting for hours not knowing where his, like, fucking drunk, mentally unstable wife is with the car. She's just out getting a cone and a bone, you know what I'm saying? Like, till 2 a.m. He's just, so Charles is like begging her, can we please just go back to normal? I've had enough of this. And then she's just like, let's fuck. And he's like, nah.
Is that when he says he wants a divorce?
Yeah.
He's like, dude, he's like, you're not normal anymore. He's like, I don't want to be with you.
Yeah.
And so she instantly switches to this, like, depressive person again, where everything's boring. Her daughter wants to play the rabbit game. She's like, no more playing the rabbit game. And
this is...
Oh, we skipped the baseball.
We skipped the fucking grandma. This is the part where the next day, that's when she meets up with the therapist in the park and everything. But then after that, she takes the kids to go see Charles's mom. So Julie's mother-in-law. They go to the old folks' home to pay her a visit. I guess that, like, she has heart problems or something. And
she's, like, dying.
Yeah, and she's in her 80s, and she's super fucking upset about it. And she's, like, honestly saying, like, suicidal shit about how she wants to die.
Yeah, she wants it over.
And it's, like, really fucking sad because the kids are right there.
The dad, like, she's like, I can't handle this. And he, like, leaves the room.
Yeah.
She decides to...
She's like, what would really make you happy? What would make you feel alive? And the grandma's like, I want to go to Vegas.
Because, like, earlier she was like, I like playing cards, and they only play cards at this old folks home. They only play chess. I mean, they only play checkers. What kind of fucking game is that? Checkers.
It's true.
Like,
you can do a lot more with cards than with checkers.
Well, I don't know why old folks home would only play fucking cards.
I know. Old people love that shit.
Yeah. You play all kinds of card games. Like, you buy a stack of cards, you give them to, like, a group of old people. You can...
They can go all day.
You want to play Go Fish Today? You want to play Old Maid? You want to play a bad game? You want to play so many fucking games. So many fucking games with just one deck of cards. Yeah. Like, Damn.
Yeah. So that's like fucking bizarre.
Yeah. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
So then the grandma, Dan Salinger kidnaps the mom. They go to Vegas and they win a bunch of money, and then she dies of a heart attack. She dies happy. And so she calls her husband. And he's like, where the fuck have you been? Oh, we went to Vegas. Your mom's gone. Like, she's like laughing.
Yeah, it's really disturbing. And she's like, she's dead. Ha ha ha. Like laughing. I was like, oh, you're telling your husband that like his mother died and this is how you're breaking the news? She tries to justify it that like, well, she was so happy when she died. You should have seen it. She was so happy. And it's like, okay.
Like the proper way you've been doing it was like, what's his name? Charles?
Yeah.
Like, hey, Charles. Yeah. We're in Vegas. Your mom told me she wanted to go to Vegas and because she was dying and that was one of her dying wishes to go to Vegas. Mm-hmm. So I took her to Vegas and she did pass while we were playing cards and she won and she had a heart attack from the excitement.
I also want to mention that her late husband's name is Henry, and we know this because the card that she plays to win, she holds it up and she says, Henry's favorite card.
And then when she dies, it's a different card.
Yeah. But it's like an ace of clubs. And then when she dies, she like flings the card out of her hand.
It's ace of spades.
And it's an ace of spades. So is the ace of clubs your favorite card?
No, ace of spades is.
Is it?
Yeah. Sure.
Wow. Yeah, sure.
Because the song.
That's a good song.
And Motherhead.
Yeah.
It's on Tony Hawk 3.
Yeah, dude. So then they have the funeral.
And she's still just like she was so happy when she died. He's like, dude, that was my fucking mom.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm convinced at this point in the movie when I'm watching it, I'm like, this bitch is a sociopath.
Yeah, exactly what I was about to say. Yeah, she is coming off like a sociopath.
Yeah.
And
Charles is fed up. He's not having it anymore.
So he goes and sees the same therapist for some reason. Oh, George Stamos arranges to meet with her again.
He sends her flowers. And then Charles sees it.
And he calls her too.
He's like, are you cheating on me? What is this? And she's like, oh, I'm just seeing some other guy. And he's like, excuse me, what?
Yeah. Like I said, it's not an age thing. She has just no concept of morals or no concept of consequences because there's one point she's swinging around a fly swatter and trying to kill this fly and she swings and breaks this vase that was her husband's mom's.
Yeah. And so she decides, I'm going to blame it on my son.
No, she swings like, oh, Junior, he needs to get better at baseball. That's when they go out and play baseball with Consuela and they teach him how to swing a bat because the husband's not going to teach her how to swing a bat properly, so she's going to do it. So then the next day they go to the baseball game. She convinced the coach to put Junior in, swings, has a home run, and this is after Charles is having a mental breakdown himself, and he goes to Sleazy Jake's house, and Sleazy Jake is now sleeping with Candace, who was the girl he was having a fight with at the party because the teenager he was dating went to another dinner party with all of them, and her dance instructor wanted to go hang out for private lessons or something like that, and so she was gonna go, and she asked him to go drop her off to go be with this other guy. And he was like, dude, what the fuck? And so all these yuppies tell her to fuck off and go order a taxi.
So much happens.
So
a lot happens in this movie.
A lot happens, but nothing happens at the same time.
I feel like it's probably hard to follow. I apologize that this is hard to follow.
We're going over the main points.
Yeah.
All the main plot points, or everything else is inconsequential.
Yeah. So like Julia is like, her husband is fed up, and so she decides that she's like, well, fine. If he wants me to stop being fun, then I'm gonna stop being fun. And so she like gaslights the shit out of her entire family when like she stops calling Junior Willie. She says to her daughter, we can't play the rabbit game anymore. And they're like, why? And she's like, well, your father
And then we see that the dad starts seeing the same therapist, and he's like starts praising her like she was so fun and carefree.
He's like, then what's the problem?
And then the therapist said something about him being young and carefree, and he was like, they got you too? Oh, they didn't mention earlier that Consuela, they just throw it out there as a one-liner. Consuela mentions her mom was a witch doctor because Willie got a black eye. And she's like, do you have anything to fix a black eye? Because she had a face mask on. She's like, oh yeah, I have a fix for everything. My mom was a witch doctor.
Yeah. So then the scene where they're playing baseball in the backyard, they're like all wearing face masks.
They're all wearing face masks in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Willie's got something on his eye, and they got these fucking Mrs. Doubtfire cake looking face masks.
Yeah.
Hello.
So then this gaslighting comes to a head when Charles has a board meeting. So he's an advertising executive, and they're working on this ad campaign for some like face cream or something, and the tagline they're going with is the perfect cream for the perfect woman.
Yeah, that's what it's so weird because they're saying like the client wants this tagline, but like he's trying to come up with a new tagline. It's like, but the client already has this.
Yeah, because Julia, in her infinite wisdom, says something along the lines of, well, no woman is perfect. And so he kind of, like, Charles hears that and, like, brings it up at the board meeting.
After, like, well, at first, like, when she says that, he still fights with her. He's like, the client wants perfect, the client has to get perfect. God, you don't understand advertising. And, like, he basically, like, you know, talks her down and throws away her entire opinion. And then at the meeting, we have two men trying to talk to the woman about how to advertise makeup, and everything's falling flat, and basically he just regurgitates what Julia was saying about nobody's perfect. And that means that women would feel like they're not perfect, and the woman who is the client was like, of course, that's what we want them to feel flawed, and we want them to feel imperfect, so that way they buy our fucking product. He continues to like spin it with just more regurgitating what Julia had said, and she's like, I love it, you're a genius, you had me going there in the first half.
Not gonna lie. Yeah, like throughout the movie you kind of see Charles change, where he starts out being really upset with her behavior and the things she's saying, but then over time he starts like saying the things that she's been saying, and it's working out for him. And the movie is just trying to get you to relate to Julia and her new like enlightened bubble perspective, but it's like, I don't know. So he gets
flowers and champagne.
Yeah, he wants to come home and celebrate the fact that like he got the advertiser, the company, to change their pitch.
Yeah, based off of what she said. So he wanted to like celebrate that with her, and she was like, man, I don't care, and like just slouched up the stairs. She's like, I'm tired, I'm gonna go upstairs. Like, this is really like manic depressive personality disorder.
She's
like,
being a passive aggressive bitch, because like anytime she was excited about anything, he would make her feel like crap about it. So now that he's excited about something,
she's like literally throwing a tantrum.
Yeah.
And like I really just was not enjoying her as a character.
No, not at all. Like not one scene.
I'm not feeling like I identify with this woman at all. And I'm a very young at heart person.
That's not how she's acting, though. That's
exactly. That's the problem. Like, that's what they're trying to say. But the fact is that age exists.
Yeah.
Age exists. And people act different ways at different ages. You can't not have an age. Time exists. Time is a social construct, but it still exists. Her body is aging and decaying.
I mean, to put it lightly.
Like, everybody's is literally...
We're all dying.
Literally after the age of 25, our cells are not reproducing at a faster rate than they are decaying. So after 25, that's why everything starts to suck. Like,
it's all downhill from here, folks.
That's just biology. And I'm saying this as someone in my mid-30s, so...
Literally, my birthday is in, like, 2 days. So, you know.
you can't ignore it.
No.
And it'd be one thing if like she acted like a teenager. Like this is
Think about like 13 going on 30, how that movie is like she's a teenager who wants to be more grown up, and so she like becomes a grown up overnight, and you see that dichotomy and that difference, like Freaky Friday. It's the same concept. This has been done before.
Freaky Friday, big. It's always a finite age. It's a definite age that someone has to reach.
And so it's easy to define, but when you're not defining it, it's just like, oh, you are ageless.
It's like, you're not ageless just because in one scene you're acting like a fucking toddler and the next scene you're acting like a teenager. That doesn't mean you're ageless. It means you have something fucking wrong with you.
You have a mental illness. Dude.
That's all it means.
Yeah.
Like, I collect action figures. I still watch cartoons. I am young at heart. I know this. But it doesn't change.
Yeah.
You know? I pay my fucking bills. And then I go to the skate park. It's...
Yeah.
I still love that, like... Her skateboarding as a 40-year-old is supposed to be like, whoa. And like, I just watched
Tony Hawk is out here like
53. He just turned Tony Hawk's birthday is the day after yours.
No way.
This is May 12th.
Shit. I'll have to tweet at him.
He texts me happy birthday.
What?
Yeah.
So the fucking movie, we're almost done with the plot. So let's fucking get through this.
So we can talk about Tony Hawk some more. Tony Hawk's still skating at 53.
Yes, baby. Then we can talk about Tony Hawk. So what happens is their relationship problems reach ahead, and basically Charles realizes that he's been wrong. In my opinion, he hasn't been wrong, but you know, whatever, that's how the movie wants to go. So so Julia goes on her quest to get Willie to play baseball, or get the coach to let him play baseball. So she uses some Dodgers tickets and her big mommy milkers to try to like get him to get Willie to play. And so then he lets Willie play reluctantly, and then he hits a triple home run and everyone claps and it's great. And then fucking George Stamos shows up and is like, hey, does Charles know about me? And she's like, no, but I'm married. Bye. They shake hands, and then she and Charles make up. And then the dad is like, you know, like I said, like every fucking 90s movie dad, he realizes that he needs to let his kids have imaginations and have fun and whatever. And so he gives daughter a carrot and the son a shirt that says Willie. And then, you know, everything's great. And so then she tells him about the magic bubbles, and then they do the magic bubbles together as a family.
Because, does she dig more out, or does Consuela give her more? I don't remember.
No, she literally just like blew the bubbles that one time. And then, you know, there's still lots of bubble left in there. And I guess she just left it in like a cabinet in the bathroom or something, because that's where he finds it.
Right.
And then he's like, where'd you put it? She's like, I don't remember. And so then he just starts rummaging around in the cabinets and he finds it, I think, in the bathroom. And then they all just do like, why couldn't she explain about the bubbles earlier? Couldn't this save
because
a whole lot of
all the time he's like, what is going on with you? And she could have been like, well, I made a wish and now I really just don't remember my age. Instead she has to act like an idiot.
Yeah.
Like there's so many times where if she just communicated like a normal fucking human being, like the entire time with like the beer thing, he got so mad because it sounds like she was just telling the fuck cashier, I don't know my age. But if she just said, I didn't bring my ID to the store, and then, you know, he would be like, well, honey, you do look really young.
I know, right? Like,
it's like
this whole thing was just like, it all boils down to the fact that she was acting like a fucking idiot. She was being obnoxious and everyone was suffering because of it.
Yeah.
And like, we're supposed to side with her and feel all good about it. I don't know. Like, it kind of pissed me off.
It's everything. If she just communicated like, dude, yeah, I wished on those bubbles that we found, and I legitimately don't remember my age.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, really? What? Did you bonk your head? Like, because he honestly thought something was wrong. That's why he sent it to the doctor.
And rightfully so.
It's like my wife is acting like, granted, he obviously wasn't paying that much attention to her because she just was like, depressed, but maybe she wasn't that way until like her 40th birthday. You know, maybe
I don't know.
Maybe it's like the birthday hit. She's like, oh my God, I can't even say my 30s are the new 20s anymore because now I'm in my fucking 40s. You know, I can understand because 40s when you really are starting to get over the hill, you know, and so maybe that really that hit her hard. I remember when I was like about to turn 30, it really fucked with me for a bit. And it wasn't like at the time I was turning 30, like it took a big effect on my personality and how I was feeling, and it took me a while to get over it. So maybe she didn't have this like super depressed, like, you know, total bump on a log personality until like 40th birthday comes, and then her friends aren't fucking helping at all by rubbing it in that haha 40s old.
Yeah, I mean, they're all assholes. She's an asshole, her friends are assholes, her husband's an asshole, like the baseball coach is an asshole. George Stamos is an asshole. Everyone sucks in this movie. I hate everyone. There's not anyone I like. Like, the kids are okay, but they don't do anything.
Willie's a fucking dick too.
Well, yeah. Okay, the daughter's fine.
The 5-year-old daughter's fine because she's so innocent still. But like you have that many entitled adults, and the kid acts entitled as fuck too. Yeah. Like that's why I was saying, like, I was like, yeah, he fucking deserved to get.
Yeah. Okay, that's true.
And like, we're not all done with the movie yet. We're almost done because he starts blowing the bubbles too. They're all making wishes, right? Yeah. And he says, I wish I could see my mom again.
Oh my God.
And
this is like the last
this is the last thing. And like I wish I could see my mom again. And I was like, are we gonna see a Jedi ghost of fucking Charles's mom? And then like a bubble floats by and we see the mom superimposed in the bubble waving to him.
Oh my God.
And the fucking Consuela comes in and she's like dancing around.
They all do the cha-cha and then
she's like doing these like bubble tricks, and there's obviously just a lot of like reverse shots.
Yeah.
Like Jesus Christ. Like I said, this is shot like a children's film.
Yes. I never made the connection that the bubbles were from Consuela, because she says that her mom was a witch doctor or whatever.
Yeah, and that's a one-liner. It's
early in the movie before they even find the bubbles too, right?
Oh no, it's when
before the baseball scene.
Yeah, it's right before the baseball scene, because when she knocks over the vase, she says, Willie, and Willie's wearing a bag over his head, and she's like, what the fuck is this? And she pulls the bag off his head, and he's got a black eye. Yeah. Did he get beat up? I don't remember what fucking happened. Yeah, he got beat up, and she goes to get like a bag of ice or something. She's being a mom, right? And she sees Consuela, who has, like I said, the mask over her face, and she's like, what you got on your mask on your face? And she names like banana and blah, blah. It's all this organic shit, and that's like I said, it reminds me of the scene of Mrs. Doubtfire when his mask falls out the window and the social worker's in there. He slams his face down into the cake, as Mrs. Doubtfire explained, like, oh, it's got some egg white and some sugar. He says name the ingredients to frosting. That's what it sounded like, which this is before Mrs. Doubtfire, but still, like, that's exactly what it reminded me of. That she was like, do you have anything for black eye? Oh yeah, I have something for everything. My mom was a witch doctor.
Dude, oh my God, just the other day, me and you were talking about movies that you watch as a kid that like
don't hold up.
And Mrs. Doubtfire, we rewatched that recently, and I hadn't watched it since I was a kid. And that's one of those movies that when I watched it as a kid, I was just like, oh, Robin Williams dressed as a woman, haha. And that was about it. But as an adult, I really like noticed the divorce subplot and the child custody bullshit. And I was like, whoa.
The movie still holds up, except for the scene when the kids find Robin Williams urinating as Mrs. Doubtfire, and they want to go attack him because they thought he was a trans woman.
Yeah, that doesn't hold up. That's bad.
That's pretty bad. But everything else
is fine.
Like, the movie was still fairly progressive for this time. They have the gay brothers, which is like, it's not even played for a joke. It's just like, we're in San Francisco, Yeah, Uncle Robbie and Uncle Jay, and no one bats an eye. Like, the kids are super accepting of it. So it's just like, that's still where we were within queer culture, that like trans people were like we're
still trying to accept that, you know, which is sad.
Me and you are not trying to be very much
I guess I just mean like society as a whole. Unfortunately,
I want to make that very clear.
Unfortunately, we're still debating these things in the public lexicon.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But everything else like fairly well held up with that. Much more than this. By the way, I found her skateboard on eBay.
Did you really?
It's by Nash. I mean, like $45.
Holy shit! Really? It's only $45.
Yeah, I mean, Nash was a cheap brand. My first skateboard was a Nash skateboard.
Really?
Yeah, back in 1999.
Oh my God.
They were okay brand. They were an okay kind of brand. They weren't like a great professional brand, but they when it came to like department store skateboards, they were better than most. But still,
that's hilarious.
1980s skateboard. Yeah, like I said, like either that skateboard was old stock somehow, or this movie was filmed in the fucking 1987.
Wow.
Yeah. So either that skateboard they got and they just kind of like it was bouncing around in like the prop department of something or other, or this movie was filmed in the late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I have a good feeling it was filmed in the late 80s.
Yeah.
And it was just like shelved because hoo-wee.
All right. So, Henry.
Yeah, what's up?
Overall thoughts, reflections. How do you feel about the magic bubble?
I don't think I want to watch it again.
No.
Is it so bad it's good?
No.
Is it so bad like we could make fun of this and riff on it?
When they showed the stuff in the refrigerator,
yeah,
that shit was like, to me, made it all worth it.
It might be kind of worth it to show people as like George Clooney doing a John Stamos impression.
Yes, people need to see that because that's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
I find everything about the movie like more interesting than the story itself.
Right. The movie to me is very strange because it's shot like a children's film. The soundtrack sounds like a children's film, but it's very much not a children's film. And we see George Clooney being Uncle Jesse, and then I just wish I could find more information on this.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think this movie is really weird. That's probably the one word I would use to describe it overall. It's weird. There's a lot of stuff about it that's weird. The characters, I don't like the arc. It reminds me of like in Grease at the very end, how like Olivia Newton-John changes to make Danny like her more. And you're just kind of like, well, there was nothing wrong with Sandy. So why is she changing? Like, that always bothered me. I love Grease, but like, that always bothered me. That it was like, maybe you guys just aren't meant for each other, you know? Like, you're different people, and that's okay. That's kind of like how I feel with the magic bubble, that it's like, they decide to stay together and like Charles has to change. And it's not like Charles was a perfect person, but neither was Julia. Like, neither of them seemed happy. It's like, maybe they just shouldn't be together. I don't know. Yeah. Who am I to judge their fucking fictional marriage? But it's just a Danielle Steele movie that's shot like a children's movie with magic in it.
I love that when you Google it, it says that she acts like an 8-year-old. Yeah.
Because it's true.
Like, she kind of does and she kind of doesn't. Like, someone felt that, you know, we need to put a fucking age on how she's fucking acting. And I think generally it is like a child, like below 10, single digit ages for the most part.
Yeah.
But she still has her mom instincts to help fucking Willie act.
And she's also very horny, which is just kind of like uncomfortable. It's like, I don't know, man. A point that I made was how, like, people who say I don't see color, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That it's like, you have good intentions when you're saying that. Like, I know what you're trying to say, but like, color is real and it matters. And it's like the same thing with age. You can't just say like, oh, I don't have an age. So yes, you do. Like, we were talking about how Dancing Grannies is like the whole like philosophy behind Dancing Grannies is like, look, we're older women and we have our own needs, and that's okay. Let's play to our strengths. Let's do what we can to stay feeling young and healthy and vibrant. And it was like, I really liked that and I really respected that, and I walked away from Dancing Grannies feeling really positive about it.
It's a positive thing. Like you cannot escape time. You cannot escape age.
Exactly.
And you might as well just embrace it. And that's what I had to come to my own conclusion when I was entering my 30s.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I don't look like I'm in my 30s. I don't.
Look, like, existential crisis, it's part of being human.
Yeah.
Except, like, this is deep, but like accepting the fact that one day we will all die and all that. Look, it's hard. I get it. But you can't live your life. The moral of this story is, magic will help you forget. It's almost like an allegory for like drugs and alcohol. Like, just use the magic substance to make your fears go away.
Just drink more wine, Julia, and
you'll forget how old you are.
I forget how old I am when I drink. Like,
it's stupid. That's such a
double fisted again.
That's such a bad lesson.
She's supposed to be like acting like she's 8, but she's double fisting fucking alcohol. Like,
and fucking going out with George Stamos till 2 a.m. It's bad. I hate this movie. I don't want to watch it again. It is interesting to talk about, though. We will definitely put some stuff on YouTube for you guys to see, because there are some things that I think are worth seeing. But overall, I would not recommend watching the whole thing.
I would say watch it once, because it's such a strange anomaly of a film. Like, of how did this get made?
Yeah, it's kind of like it's got all of the elements of like a typical early 90s family comedy, but it puts them together really weird.
Yeah.
That, like, if you gave this to a major studio, they would probably know what changes to make to it to make it feel more like what it's trying to be.
I love that this is the second script that the writer came up with, and like something happened where she's like, well, that's not my calling, apparently. The first one worked out. This one, whoo-wee.
Yeah, this did not work out. I'm happy that she stopped.
She found work somewhere else. She still works in TV. It's just, she makes house flipping shows now.
Yeah.
So that's fine, But
wow, you're telling me that the woman who wrote this movie participates in modern day gentrification? Why does that not surprise me?
Let's just write this fantastic story about a bunch of yuppies.
Dude, it's got like well-meaning ignorant white lady written all over it.
I still can't get over the bathroom.
Right? What the fuck? There's so many things in this movie that you're just like, what is up with that?
Like,
why is it like that?
I have some friends that are very well off, and I've been to their houses. I have yet to see a toilet curtain.
Yeah.
Like, great elaborate bathroom, and there was no toilet curtain, because who fucking needs you already have the door.
Yeah.
You lock the door.
It does not make sense unless they personally put that in. It's bad. I don't recommend it. Yeah.
It's interesting if you find it.
Yeah.
Sift through it to see, John Stamos, George Clooney.
Yeah. That's like the best part, just because it's so bizarre.
And I do say, if you find it, because it's not on streaming anywhere, it's not even on YouTube, no one else has reviewed this.
Yeah, this movie is obscure, but like Zone Troopers, for a reason.
Yeah. I'm sure George Clooney would like to keep this completely under wraps.
Yeah, 100%.
If George Clooney is even aware it did come out, he's like, I thought that got canceled the first time around.
So again, happy Mother's Day to all of you moms and mom lovers alike.
We do have more merch in the shop again. We have another run of stickers available. They are $5 each. Go ahead and DM us if you would like one.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Give us a 5-star review. Thanks so much for listening. We will see you next week, but until then, remember, be kind, rewind.